Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Aspie Bridge. We finished our sessions on moving and getting your mindset all set up. And now I would love to bring you a story of a woman who has gone beyond the limitations of what people thought she was able to do. And a lot of us are like that. When we have this hidden disability, people look at us and say, "Are you really disabled? You seem fine to me." Or if we're having a bad day, wow, she really has a problem. What's her problem? I don't know. It's crazy. But when you have an explanation of what's going on, instead of just assuming that someone is either a problem or better than you expect, then it can be a little bit uncomfortable for both of you because you're not quite sure where this individual is coming from. They're either having a really bad day or a really great day, and you just don't know what to do with them. So, I would love to introduce you to the idea of a hidden disability, and you never really know what place that someone's coming from unless you talk to them and get to know them better. And today, my guest, Michelle Steiner, is going to help us learn all about how to approach someone who says they have a disability, even though you can't see it, even though you don't understand it. But if you take the time to listen to them and get to know them, they're going to be quite honest and say, "Hey, that's not my strong suit." Or, "Yeah, I can do that really well." And then you don't underestimate or overestimate what you expect them to do in life. Welcome, Michelle. Tell us all about what brings you here today and where you are in the world today.
Well, thank you so much. I'm so excited to have this conversation. Well, my name is Michelle Steiner. I live in Pennsylvania with my husband Ron and our two cats, Jack and Sparrow. I am a writer, speaker, author, advocate, and I'm also a paraeducator where I work in a school with students with disabilities. And I have a blog called Michelle's Mission where I write about my life with a learning disability and I feature my photography. And I just had my first book published, a children's story about a ladybug that couldn't count her spots. Thank you. And I have a learning disability myself. I have dyscalculia, which is a math learning disability. I have limited hand dexterity in both of my hands, and I have visual perception issues.
There we go. Explanations mean so much to people
Mhm.
because then they know what the expectations are of where, okay, so math is going to be a little bit harder, but writing seems to be your smart
Right.
spot. Great. I love that. Well, I'm a writer too. I write a
It's
lot.
awesome.
So that's great. I mean, we can't all be perfect in everything, can we?
No, and that's one of those things. Not everybody can be good at everything. And I always tell the students that I work with that, well, not only can I not help you with math, but I also tell them that we all have something that we struggle with. And I think that's what's so powerful too, that maybe sometimes I may not be good at math, but I have colleagues who can do math really well, and I can refer my students over there to them. And some of my colleagues aren't great with English or with writing. So we all have things that we can do, and we all have things that we struggle with, and it's just like anybody else.
Yeah. We all bring gifts to the table and we all have
Yep.
challenges. And none of
Mhm.
them are problems. I want everybody to
No.
know they're not problems. They're areas where we have more challenges than others. So, Michelle, what is your definition of a hidden disability?
My definition of a hidden disability are disabilities that we can't see. I think so often we're so familiar with disabilities we're able to see, such as somebody in a wheelchair, somebody that might have some facial features that might be Down syndrome or could be something else. And that is how we label people that are disabled and people who aren't. And when I tell people that I have a disability, I get a wide variety of responses. I get people that say, "Well, you don't look like you're disabled," and they're looking for the cane or they're looking for the walker or the wheelchair. And I have to explain, well, there's some disabilities we can see and some we can't. And then people will say, "Well, you don't look like you are, and I'm giving you a compliment." And that's really not a compliment either way. There's nothing wrong if you have a disability that people are able to see. And there's also nothing wrong with having one that you can't see. And I always say this too, just because you can't see my disability doesn't mean it's not there and doesn't mean that it doesn't impact my life.
Exactly. I mean, we don't go up to people. I mean, we did when we were little. We
Uh-huh.
heard, oh, you're four eyes, you got glasses. And it's like,
Hmm.
yeah, the glasses are another thing, but so many people wear glasses now. It's not like
Yeah.
you're disabled because you wear glasses. No.
No, the
And
glasses help. Yep, help
that's
you to
it.
see.
Exactly. They are helpful aids. And when you can offer a helpful aid to other people who say, hey, I have a challenge with, with math. Okay, great. Let's sit down and see if we can help you figure it out together. That's where support comes in is, hey, I get it. If I need some help writing, would you help me with writing? I mean, we go back and forth, and that's where we bring all the gifts together. Everyone has a different gift that they can do. Now, Michelle, I know I've been underestimated in my life of, oh, you can't have a full-time job because you can't multitask, or you can't have a full-time job because of this reason or that reason. And it's hurtful when people say something like, you
Hmm.
can't. And we're going to talk about
Right,
that in a moment too, redefining can't. But I mean, for me, it's like, you can't do this. It's like, why can't I? Because you don't think I'm
right.
able to? Our hidden disabilities don't give people a right to say what we can or can't do. What are some of your experiences with that?
I definitely had people that really underestimated me. I can remember when I was in high school, I had a learning support teacher who said, I don't think you can go to college because of math. And she suggested a trade school while I was in high school. And I could look back on it with some of the conditions that weren't even diagnosed at that point, and that would have been so much harder. I don't think anyone wants me to cut their hair with my hand dexterity and the visual perception. So cosmetology would be out. I'm not able to drive because of the visual perception part of my disability. So going into protective services with driving a police car or an ambulance, that wouldn't work out very well. And there's math involved with cooking, so I didn't think culinary arts, and I certainly didn't want to learn how to program a computer at that point. So I think that those things would have been a lot harder, but everybody just thinks that, oh, trade school's easier. Not always.
No.
And yeah, and I have nothing but respect for people who do that. If that's something that's your passion, that's something you love to do, it's something you're good at, go for it. But I knew I was definitely going to go to college. But I still had people that really doubted me there. I had a psychiatrist that evaluated me for having a learning disability to get funding for college, and my scores were so low that he said, "Oh, most likely won't go beyond community college." I get to community college, and there's still even more stigma from both faculty and students. Everybody thought that using disability accommodations was cheating. I can remember whenever I asked for a calculator, a professor said, "Oh no, we use our brains in this class, not
My
calculators."
gosh. Oh,
And then when I talked about with my advisor about some of the difficulties I was having, she said, "Well, I think you're going to have limited job choices when you graduate. You won't know how much art paper to give out for an art lesson." And I had peers saying, "Oh yeah, people that get tests read aloud to them or have extra test time, they're just giving them the answers." And that was really hard to hear. And it was even after I graduated from college, I went on to university and I was able to get my bachelor's degree. Despite everybody said I couldn't do it, I had to get testing again because I wanted to get paratransit. And I had to once again show that I had a disability, that I was not able to drive. And I can remember they put on there, well, what's the job that you'd like to have someday? And I put, oh, I like communications. I like talking to people. And I could just remember, yep, yeah, sorry about that. I could just remember that they said, oh, she has a strong desire for communications, but based on her scores, this would be beyond what she can do. And so we're just not even going to consider it. And I look at my life with having a book that just came out, with having articles published in other different places, with having that experience with sharing my story, with having my photography that I've had featured in magazines and I take on my walks. If I would have listened to them, I don't think that I would have gone as far as I have.
Exactly. Well, and I think that's what a lot of listeners that stand on this side of the neurodivergent are dealing with. They're dealing with all those outside voices of you can't, you can't, you can't, you
Right,
can't, you can't. And they're getting stuck in the mud saying, well, maybe I can't. And yet
right.
you hear you and I are both able to say, well, maybe I can't do that, but look at what I can do here. And I think that's
Yep.
a big emphasis right there is
Hmm.
maybe I can't do this kind of work. And at this moment, I would not want to do that kind of work
Right.
anyway. So it's a lot of our passions show up where we are able to work. The photography, the writing. I mean, I've written so many articles and everything. I have three picture books. I have many chapters.
Nice.
Yeah, so maybe I can't do that work, but can't is just an area of vocation where we choose not to push ourselves into pressure. But I
Exactly.
can do this.
Right. And I see that with a lot of people, they'll say, oh, I'm not good at art, so I can't help you. And that's acceptable to say that. But if you go and say that I'm not, I struggle with math or I might struggle with reading or something like that, people can't accept that. Everybody just kind of goes, oh, aren't we all bad at math? And well, there's a difference between being bad at something or that's not your forte, but you get through it to do what you need to do. But for me, anytime I encountered math, I really cannot do it in that area. I went to tutoring for hours and did all the work, and I still couldn't pass the test. And it wasn't how I ended up getting through the class, thankfully, was I had some great professors that knew I was trying and putting all the effort, and I was able to move along.
Sometimes an A for effort is exactly where it shows up.
Yep.
I had that in one of my college classes too.
Hmm.
I was at every single class, so I wasn't
Yep.
skipping it. But when it came time, because this professor decided that he was going to vocalize all of his lectures, writing random words on the board here and there and everywhere, no set of and when I went to take his exam, I ended up failing it, but I didn't fail it because he gave me a D instead, because I couldn't follow his lectures. And
Right.
had someone come up with the accommodation of, oh, here's my notes ahead of time, that's
Right.
that's not giving the answers away. That's just
No.
providing a different source of
Right.
resource that we
Right.
can take in instead of if our processing
Hmm.
skills are not as strong, talk about an invisible uh,
Hmm.
disability
Right. And that's
and
one of the things, yeah,
yeah,
I
go
did
ahead.
too. When I was in college, I had a note taker when I went to university. And sometimes we already had the PowerPoints, which was great because you get the materials ahead of time and they evolve with how we present information. But I also got a note taker, and I'll tell you what, it really changed my world. I mean, my handwriting is also not that great. So people, if someone was studying with me and I had to go over that information, they couldn't read my handwriting. Well, now they could read it, so it made a lot more sense. And I got the critical information and I could just focus in on the lecture and not have to worry about processing. Okay, I'm going to write down the information. I'm going to pay attention to what the teacher's saying. I'll look across the room. There's this person doing that. And I thought, oh, I could take notes. No big deal. But when I did it, it worked out so much better.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Now I didn't find out that I was autistic till I was 51. Can you
Oh
imagine
boy.
what kind of success I
Wow.
would have had in
Yeah.
college had I known that that was my problem? I mean, this
Hmm.
is a lot of the challenges that many late diagnosed individuals have is they don't know why they're struggling.
Right, exactly. A lot. I was very fortunate. I was diagnosed in kindergarten, and I will have my mom and dad, they will both say, I don't know. I think I might have a learning disability too. But my dad said, I figured it out. I think he was able to do that. But my mom, she still swears she probably has some kind of math disability, but they didn't know back in that time. And I talked to other people. I had an OVR caseworker and said, well, they didn't test people when I went to school, but she really struggled with math, especially when she was in grad school. And yeah, that's one of the things. We just had a training where we're talking about disabilities and how there's that increase. And that is just a part of it is that we're knowing a lot more. We're knowing the signs, we're knowing the symptoms, we're able to intervene and to really try to give that support.
What you said about the
Uh-huh.
parents and such, because what ends up happening is if you are late diagnosed and you don't know it, but because you struggled, you tend to find that when you take your own children, now I have a daughter who's ADHD. I
Hmm.
got her tested as soon as we found out what the problem was and
Right.
what where her challenges were. So it's not all bad that we didn't know. We tend to
Right.
find that what happens is if we struggle, we want to make sure no one else struggles the same way we
Exactly.
do. So I took my daughter about the age of 11 or 12, and we found out
Hmm.
that she's ADHD. And lo and behold, she was able to get the help she needed right away. She went on to become a medical, we had this technical high school where they could go into
Hmm.
whatever pathway they wanted. She went into medical pathways, and now
Awesome.
she's working as a nurse for 12 hours a day for the ICU. And I'm like, that's incredible. But have we not
Nice.
taken those steps to help her with her invisible disability? Would that be possible? No, because she wouldn't know where she was struggling or why she was struggling. And I think that's a big
Exactly.
thing for late diagnosis. If you do have younger children or know of someone, just helping them get the steps that you didn't
Hmm.
have is a
Ex
big service. Go ahead,
Yep.
Michelle.
Yeah, because that makes all the difference in the world. If I didn't know, if my family didn't know that I had a learning disability, my school years that were already really difficult with learning and trying to fit in would have been even harder because they would just think, well, you're not trying hard enough, you're not motivated. And I think that it wouldn't improve my grades. I probably would have dropped out of school. I probably would have not, I know I wouldn't have gone as far. But thankfully, with the school and my parents working together, that really helped. So I was diagnosed early. This is simply just a way that I have to live my life. And I've actually seen, though, what is really neat is our acceptance with technology that comes in. And that just helps so much more. It's not like we're having people saying, okay, you can't read the face of a clock. You're not always going to have a digital display. Well, when you're an adult, you can have that. You can have your watch. You can have a digital watch. You can have a Fitbit if that's what you want. And also love the beauty that people are using these things and they don't even know that they're using something that's helping them.
Yes, yes, exactly. I mean, I've heard it said so many times that if
Hmm.
you can find ways to solve the problems, and I'm going to say one more thing after that, but if you can find ways to solve a challenge, you're not just helping the neurodivergent individual, you're helping everybody. Now, what I want to go on to say, and I did a whole podcast series way back
Okay.
in 1.0 on Thomas Edison. And I'm like, so many times there are many of us who are neurodivergent, autistic, And we're helping to solve the problems because we see them more than others see them. I like to say that we take care of the problems before anyone else gets hurt.
Exactly. That is so true because we can look for different ideas. And that is the key thing when you have a learning disability. People will think, oh, you've overcome your disability. That's why you've been successful. And I have to say, no, I was able to find a way around that. I was able to find that problem, or well, not the problem. I was able to find a way to be able to accommodate and to work around the issue. We're all getting to the same place. It's just a different way of doing it, and we're able to help other people get there a lot easier too.
Absolutely. Oh, I can't even begin to say how helpful that would be for everyone else's. I have often brought up the show back in the 80s called Early Edition, where this guy gets the paper early. Imagine if we had gotten the roadmap early and said, this is what you're going to be challenged with, but this is what you're going to be good at helping others to solve their problems. Wouldn't that have made a big difference in our world? As if we could have been like, okay, I can handle that challenge because I know it's there and I can help others solve their problems too at the same time. That's kind of why I do the
Exactly.
podcast because I'm not just someone who has all the answers. That's why I have guests. So I'm like, I'm here to be the guide, the host, the torchbearer, as I call
Hmm.
myself, saying I've walked these roads myself. I understand the
Right.
struggles. And when we can understand the struggles, there's so much more compassion. And yeah, I get it.
Right.
I can't tell you how many times I say to someone, I get it. I get it. So this is what we can do next. This is what we
Yep.
can do next is the best way to take the time to say, you know what? I understand where you're coming from. Let's sit down and figure it
Exactly.
out together. Now you have a support system. I love the fact that your family was a support system because I work with a lot of women who did
Hmm.
not get that support system, who are getting the ableism or the underestimating, and
Hmm.
sometimes both. Sometimes it really ends up being both, depending on what kind of a day we're having and what kind of activity it is.
Right, exactly. Because, yeah, I mean, there are people, I don't know how I would have made it through without my parents and my
Yeah.
friends too. They couldn't fix the disability, but they could be there to support that. And my mom and dad worked with the school and they worked with me. They never gave up on me. We had some long, tearful homework sessions at night, but that really gave me that resilience. That gave me what I needed to do. And they also told me to really focus on what I could do. And it
Good.
was finding those things I was good at. It wasn't sugarcoating it saying, oh, you're a mathematician when I really wasn't, or I was going to be the greatest athlete when I really wasn't. But I can remember when my dad found a story that I wrote in second or third grade and said, wow, this is really good. And it was about a dinosaur that, but that just changed my world. I thought,
Yeah.
I am good at something. And
Yes.
I never thought I was. And my dad would read me a story every night when I was little, and the teachers would say that I read and I spoke with such expression. And reading and writing really became my world. And I wasn't focusing on things that I definitely couldn't do. I was focusing on things that I could do. And I think that that is something that as an adult that just grew because I can't control that I can't drive or I can't control that I can't solve a math problem very well. But I can take a picture, I can read a book, I can write something, and I don't feel like I'm disabled when I'm doing that. And another thing with things that I can't control, and that makes me feel empowered, is I can't control another person. I can't control what somebody else thinks, what somebody else says, their actions, but I am in charge of my own. And that's where we get that empowerment and that feeling that confidence with that. And I feel happy with that. And I wouldn't change my life for somebody that could do those things too. I think that they both can coexist together.
Standpoint. Now you want to bring that in. I think we all came with some kind of a lesson to learn, some kind of an
Exactly.
experience to overcome,
Hmm.
something that There is no person out there. It may look like there are people out there who are having a rosy life, but we don't know what shoes they're walking in. We only
Nope.
know our own. And I was talking to someone the other day who needed to have her schedule changed, and I'm like, they can't read your mind that you need a schedule change.
Exactly. You have to be the one to advocate. And that's something that I have to do even at my own job is I have to speak up and tell them I cannot be in a class and help with math. And I have to do that whenever I get a new person I work with. And I don't think it ever gets easier, but I think you get better at doing it. And because everyone's going to look at me and they presume competence. Or they just presume that I can do everything. It's not that I can't do anything, it's but they just presume, well, why can't you do that? Or my favorite is whenever they're trying to, they'll say, well, I said, okay, I'm not good at math. And they're saying, well, I'm showing you how to do it.
Yeah.
You can show me how to do it, but that doesn't mean that I will pick it up in that respect. I even had somebody, it was music. Somebody was trying to show me music, and I'm hopeless with that too. It involves math, so yeah, yeah. There's that connection with that, and there's some people that are great with it. And if you are, good for you. But for me, I couldn't do it. And she's like, "Well, I'm showing you how to do it."
Yeah, no, no. I mean, you can't pick up a paintbrush for someone, and you can't pick up a musical instrument for someone.
Yeah,
It's not. I mean, now that's the interesting thing is you can paint and do things like that, and I have the music, but I have other
right.
areas where you have strength and I have strength,
Yeah, right.
and so
Exactly.
forth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everybody has something they're good at. Everybody has something they struggle with. I agree 100%.
So that's amazing. What do you think is your proudest moment?
I think one of my proudest moments had to be when I graduated from university with my bachelor's degree. One of the reasons with that is that people told me I couldn't do it, but I also, whenever I really struggled, I had a really bad day at school, I would walk past the gymnasium where they, or the field house where they would have graduation at, and I would just say, even if it was winter time and it was freezing cold, I said, just picture this really warm summer day, and you're going to walk across that stage with your degree, with that diploma. And I would do that every single time it was a bad day. And that is exactly how it happened on a warm May day. I went right across that stage and I got that diploma. And I think that just was the part. And the thing that really amazed me with that was I used to think if I could just get rid of the disability, then I can be successful. Then I can help other people. But when I graduated that day, I had the success, but I still also had the disability, but I also got the confidence. And I had that spark again. I had that enthusiasm. And because for so long I was really negative, and that just was brought back. And I think that's just one of those moments that I'll never forget.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, the visualization, that's huge in my world. Keep on rehearsing that activity taking place already, and that's going to put you there. I'm in the process of moving to North Carolina, and in my mind, I've already moved. In my mind, I've already
Yep,
landed in
you're
North Carolina.
exactly.
In my mind, I've already have all those steps done. And when you can do that, that's a big part of the coaching I do is helping people take that successful moment of what they can do, imagining something in the future that they would love to do, rehearsing it in their mind every day, every day, every day, and going forward, it's going to happen. And what I would love to leave you with, and for everybody who's listening, is one, I know affirmations can be a little woo-woo at times, but
Hmm.
there is one that I really swear by, and I love it every day in every way. I'm getting better and better. And what that
That
does
one.
is that accentuates all your positive traits. And you know what? We can acknowledge the ones that we're not so great at.
Exactly. I agree. They make up the person. Every bit
Exactly.
makes up that unique person.
Absolutely. Is there anything you would like to share with our listeners before we say goodbye for the day?
I would just love to tell people the success doesn't always come in the package we expect. Sometimes it comes in something even better. and to check out my blog, Michelle's Mission, at www.michellesmission.com.
Perfect. Yes, everyone, please subscribe to the YouTube channel so you can get more great stories like this to inspire you. Because we are out there. Not everybody has to live on neurodivergent island feeling stuck. We are here to support you. We're here to show you that there are stories of success out there, even with hidden disabilities. You can succeed. And I want to say thank you very much, Michelle, for coming today. And I hope you all come to the Facebook group page and join in and see all the wonderful guests I've had in the past, today, and going into the future. I'd love to have you join us because there's only one way to go forward over this bridge back into society where we all thrive, and that is supporting each other. And that is the key right there. Let's support each other. If you have a challenge and someone else has the skill, ask for it, advocate for yourself. If they have the challenge and you have the skill, support them and help them. It's a two-way street, it's not a one-way street. This bridge goes back and forth, and we can help each other to be successful. Thank you, Michelle, for coming today. I hope you have a great day.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Wonderful. And we'll see you next week on the Aspie Bridge. Goodbye, everyone.